Do you want to play a Force-using techie who stabs things with a lightsaber? Well, then you probably want to watch the rest of this video. The Armorer Specialization can be found in the Guardian sourcebook, keeping the peace. Sourcebook for Guardians. And as a Force-using techie, the obvious comparison would be to the Sentinel's Artisan from the Force and Destiny core rulebook, who was a Force-using techie and probably the best all-around techie in the game. But really this tree has far more in common with the Bounty Hunter Gadgeteer from the Edge core book and the Mechanic from the same book for the Technician. So if you like the idea of those trees, but it wasn't quite what you were looking for, and maybe you wanted a Force user to boot, this might be the one for you. So there's two main aspects to this character. There's the melee portion, which is both offensive and defensive. Offensive mostly with lightsabers, though you could be a regular melee guy or brawler, but really most of your talents deal with lightsaber directly, so you're a lightsaber person. The other aspect of the character, the other role, is the techiness. First, the techiness aspect of their character really is sort of like Gadgeteer from Edge Core, in the sense that more of their talents have to do with not so much helping you with your checks, although there is a bit of that in this case, unlike with Gadgeteer, more to do with talents that bring to life the theme of someone who works with their gear and tweaks and modifies it. You know, things like Tinkerer, Jury-Rigged, Armor Master, and that series. Those talents give you passive buffs, but they have nothing to do with actually doing the whole mechanics thing as a role in the group. They don't help your mechanics checks at all. It's just more of a thematic feel. Brings to life that type of character. They have a bit of that, but they also have talents that actually help with your mechanics checks. Mostly crafting, but also some general mechanics stuff. But really, you're going to be relying more on your pretty sizable dice pool for the general mechanics stuff, which is going to be pretty sizable because it's easier to put a lot of points into your intelligence right off the bat as far as characteristic builds. As always, we'll go more into characteristic builds later on. But for now, we got some gearhead, pretty standard techie stuff. We also have a bit of Inventor, which helps you with crafting and modifying, and even a talent that allows you to use the Force in place of tools, so you always have the right tool for the job. You don't get whatever penalty you would get, which can change depending on the situation, though there is a standard to it. Anyway, that talent is nice in a pinch, but really, if you are a techie and the main techie of a group, which you probably are likely to be, why wouldn't you take the time to have your own tools? If you're not even going to craft your own toolbox because you don't have the Technician sourcebook, which you should if you're a techie, craft your own toolbox, you're going to be able to add some modifications to it to make it really good. Or at the very least, just, you know, buy one that's better, gives you some bonuses. But it is nice if it gets lost or destroyed, or you don't want to spend the maneuver to pull out your tools, or whatever the case may be. You always have the tools because you're using the Force to manipulate whatever it is you need to do. Now that's it for your basic mechanics stuff, but not your basic techie stuff, because computers is also a big part of it. If you're the main mechanic, there's a good chance you're also going to be the go-to computer guy. And helping you with that is not really a computer talent. It's a talent that can actually help you with just about any general skill. Because, and we've come across this before, in the Sentinel's Artisan tree, where basically you can use the Force to better comprehend a piece of technology. Now it does have to be like personal scale or like a piece of equipment. It can't be a starship. But, like I said before, you could have a piece of gear that helps you with piloting checks. There's nothing saying you couldn't. So if you have the Technician sourcebook, build something, some piece of gear, whatever, that will help you with piloting checks, or any other general skills, skullduggery, computers, medicine, etc., and you can get a bit of help dealing with that skill as long as you're using that piece of technology, or any piece of technology that helps you with that skill. And this gives you a lot of flexibility. You can make a whole bunch of gadgets, be like a Gadgeteer kind of character for a wide variety of general skills, and they can help you with that. So you can even fill some gaps if you really work on your encumbrance. Get a big backpack, that multi-thing backpack from the Seeker sourcebook, or other books might have similar items in helping with your encumbrance threshold, and just stock up on all these gadgets. Like Batman, you have gadgets for all these different situations, and you can fill gaps in a smaller team perhaps, or maybe a solo campaign. If someone were, you know, just a random example, playing a Guardian career character in a solo Star Wars campaign, and, you know, you wanted that flexibility because you are a solo character. Even if you have companion characters that the GM provided for you, you know, it'd be nice to have the extra flexibility of having these tools. That might be a smart thing to do. Or it would have been, if you thought to do that. Josh. Next, let's go over the improvements to your gear talents. We actually only have a single rank of Tinkerer, no jury-rigged, which is typical. You see Tinkerer and jury-rigged together, usually at least 2 ranks of one of them. But here we just got 1 Tinkerer, so that will help you a bit. Mostly, it's the Armorer spec, so as you might imagine, we got the full tree series, that's the word I'm looking for, full series of Armorer, or Armor Master talents. We got the full series of that. Although I guess it's not really so obvious, seeing as how the Bodyguard only had the basic version of Bodyguard. It's called the Bodyguard, but it's the worst Bodyguard of all the Bodyguards, who aren't even called Bodyguard. No, I will never let that go. Never. Bodyguard, eat a So we got the full series of Armor Master, which means you wear armor better. You're tougher and better when wearing armor, and this is in a variety of ways. Although it only works with certain types of armor, GMs make sure they're wearing the right type of armor, otherwise they don't get the full slew of benefits if it's not the right type of armor. Anyway, it's not just passives with this, we also have some active talents. Imbue item, that is not new. Artisan also had that. I'm 99% sure, positive. They had Imbue, which basically you use the Force to add a temporary bonus, enhance your item, and you can add a variety of things to it, which is wonderful. Reinforce item is a new thing where you can also, same basic principle, but it's a very specific quality you add to an armor or weapon. We got a couple ranks of both toughened and grit to help you with your wound and strain threshold. Not a whole lot really, about average for a combat tree, decent, solid amount, but not a whole lot. Though combined with the other stuff, you're going to be a fairly tough character. But we'll get more into builds and all that stuff later. Let's focus on the offensive part of the character. Now, like I said, mostly a lightsaber wielding character. They do get it as a career skill, which not many do, that's nice. But really what makes them lightsaber over brawl and melee, which they also get as career skill, are the offensive talents. We got saber throw, you throw it, you do damage. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You know what a saber throw is, right? It's in the name. You throw the saber, it can come back if you roll good enough. Falling Avalanche is an attack where basically you do more damage. You can do more damage. That's it. You can just do more damage. There's a choice, there's a cost. You do more damage. Pretty simple, but it's always nice to have a choice, even a very simple, basic one. Just give me more things to do. I don't really like opening up a page and seeing just a sea of blue. I don't want to just be better at the thing I'm doing. I want to have more choices in doing the thing I'm doing. That's my preference. Anyway, it's not much, a little choice, but it gives you a little bit of something else to do. And that is it for the tree. Now, for building your armorer, there really are only, well, there's 2 roles that you're going to be good at. You know, Jedi or Force-using careers don't get a lot of career skills, and there's really not much else outside of brawn and intellect-based career skills that you have to work with, or that you get a lot of help with, so we can contribute in that area, although the Comprehend technology does provide some utility. But for the most part, brawn, intellect, those are the 2 things you're going to focus. Brawn is going to help you both offensively and defensively for your role as a melee combatant, of course, and also intellect is going to help you with dealing with technology, being the mechanical crafter, maybe computer guy, all that jazz, as well as maybe offensively with your lightsaber, because Shi Cho from the core book gives you Shi Cho technique, which allows you to use intellect instead of brawn, which is the default for lightsaber. You can use intellect for lightsaber. So we got this flexibility here, where brawn helps us with offensive and defensive, and intellect helps us with the technology stuff, or intellect helps us with technology and offense, and brawn just helps us with defense. So depending on which matters most to us, we can go over and we can go to Soursu, get Soursu technique, and then just fill out the rest of the tree here. And that makes it easier to justify a really strong intellect and a average to solid brawn. Or we can just stick to armorer and try to find a bit more of a balance between brawn and intellect. Personally, I do prefer the stronger intellect. Like if you have to choose, I can only have 1 4, a 4 and a 3, and that's all I can make work with my species between those 2. For whatever reason, I like leaning towards 4 in intellect and getting the source, or the... Have I been saying it wrong? Have I been saying Shi Cho? It's Soursu. Soursu technique uses intellect for your offense. Anyway, if you have to have 1 4 and only 1 3, if that's the build you have to do, I like it in intellect. get Soursu technique, maybe even start there and then move over here, or just get it as soon as you can. It's easier more than any other tree to sidestep on over because it's, you know, the same careers, so you don't have to pay that 10-point penalty for buying a spec attached to a different career, so that's nice. And the reason I prefer the 4 in intellect, if you do have to choose between the two, is because really I think the intellect aspect needs the most help. Like the mechanical aspect of your character needs more help. It doesn't get as much help from your talents as it probably should if you want to fulfill that role. I think it requires that 4 more. Also, once you get Soursu technique, you're also just naturally really good at stabbing things. By a rank, you'll have 1 yellow, 3 green. That's pretty solid for being a melee damage dealer. And you'll also be pretty solid right out of the gate with the whole techie thing. So you start off really strong. Now, a lot of species can swing a 4-3-3, but really, I like the 4-4 build better. 4 brawn, 4 intellect, that's my personal favorite. You're really good at both roles, really durable, really strong, even if you don't have a lightsaber, because you might not have a lightsaber right away. You might not, or have something that uses the lightsaber skill. There are cheap items that use the lightsaber skill, and therefore would get the benefit of the whole Soursu technique and using intellect offensively. There are weapons that would get the benefit of that, but you might not have access to them in your campaign. You might not have your lightsaber yet, so you might prefer a 4 in brawn. Plus, that can help you if you ever need to punch things or do melee, if you ever lose your lightsaber. Also, it will make you more durable, which is always nice. So 4-4 is really strong, and that's one I would recommend the most. You know what? I don't know if it's the one I would actually do, though, to be honest. Because the 4-3-3, typically I say do a 4-3-3 if you can swing it in something. I'm not sure if I would recommend it necessarily, but it is what I would want to do because I find it the most interesting. Because comprehend technology. With comprehend technology, make a couple pieces of gear that will help you with general skills all attached to the same characteristic, and have that characteristic be your second 3. So like, let's say cunning. Make yourself a piece of gear that helps you with perception checks, skullduggery, deception, some sort of voice thing that helps you lie better, or something, I don't know. If you don't have a cunning-based smuggler or survival type character, you might be able to kind of fill that role in a pinch while also stabbing things and fixing things and doing all the techie stuff. So you can have a wide variety there. To me, that would be the most fun and interesting to play, and it would take some work to really to build up, literally build up all your gear, but that could be lots of fun. But if not that, the 4 intellect, 4 brawn is great, or just 4-3 is fine. 4 intellect, 3 brawn, spend whatever other points that you could have spent on a 3 and something, instead just get Soursu. Get the Soursu technique, get that as soon as possible, or fill out your tree as soon as possible, whatever. You know, not all of your points has to go into characteristics. A 4-3 is just fine for a character. Now, some of you might want to play a brawler or a melee person instead of a lightsaber character, just never have a lightsaber. That's not a terrible way to go. They do have talents that help you with your melee weapon, no matter what it is. Could be a brawl weapon or an actual melee weapon. Doesn't matter, doesn't have to be a lightsaber, but there are some talents that help you specifically with lightsaber. The difference between an armorer who is lightsaber and an armorer who is not lightsaber focused, it's not going to be huge, it's not going to be game breaking, but it is going to be there, it is going to be noticeable. One of those lightsaber talents isn't the easiest thing to avoid. You might end up picking it up anyway just out of convenience, so yeah, I would recommend go lightsaber or get a training saber or something if you can. But if not, it's not like you're going to be crippled. In fact, go for a 4 brawn in that case. Absolutely, definitely get the 4 brawn, and then 4 intellect if you can swing it, or if not, 3 intellect is okay. Did I mention that I really like this tree? Like a really good B+, almost an A-. It was almost an A-. One talent that would help with general techiness stuff, general mechanics checks, just one talent. One of those, spend a destiny point, or once per session you can reroll a mechanics check, or in one of those really powerful, then A-. Would have been still really good tree. Highly recommend it.